This video aims to demonstrate my impressions on the English language topic of language and gender. Language and gender is a topic within the A-level course of English language, which explores linguistics in relation to gender. So far, we have studied common traits to each sex and how they communicate to one another. Other aspects explored include sexism within English language, the Politeness Principle, and stereotypes associated with each gender. Folk linguistics are attitudes and assumptions about language that have no real evidence to support them. This is prominent in language and gender. I will now demonstrate what characteristics are supposed to be common to each gender. Firstly, female. They are supposed to talk more, talk too much, be more polite, indecisive, complain and nag, be hesitant, ask more questions, support each other, and are more cooperative. Males, on the other hand, are supposed to swear more, talk less about emotion, talk more about sport, talk about women and machines in the same way, insult each other frequently, be competitive in conversation, dominate conversations, speak with more authority, and give more commands and interrupt more. We continue to look at characteristics common to women and men, but this time we looked at qualified data. The information was collated through evidence. One of the sets of evidence we looked at was Robin Lakoff. She formed a list of 10 characteristics through evidence which were common to females. The list is as follows. 1. They use more hedges, for example, sort of. 2. They utilize more polite forms, for example, would you please. 3. They use more tag questions, for example, don't you. 4. They use more peaking, i.e. intonational emphasis. 5. They use more empty adjectives, for example, sweet. 6. They use hypercorrect grammar and punctuation. 7. They lack a sense of humor. 8. They use more direct quotations. 9. They use more specialized lexis. 10. Question intonation in a declarative context. We also looked at a YouTube video which showed a conversation between a man and a woman. And we didn't just analyze that, we did our own research within our class, looking at spoken language features between a man and a woman. In my opinion, this aspect of the unit has been most enthralling because I have never thought about these things before. It is also an aspect that you can apply to your daily life and in some ways is quite beneficial to your daily life. The first list I spoke about is something I don't agree with. Being folk linguistics, they are not based on any real evidence, and conducting our own class research, I disagree with it. For example, the first statement that women talk more was a complete opposite to the 2 experiments we tried out in class. Also, the second one, women talk too much, is very vague, and who is to justify whether they talk too much or not? What if I was to say that men talk too little? How would one react to that? The second list I spoke about was by Lakoff. This was more true for me, but I feel that society's rules and regulations will affect this data, and as society has changed, I believe that this data is starting to get slightly dated, and the facts like women have a bad sense of humor are changing. Stereotypes. In close relation to the section above, we also briefly looked at stereotypes associated with each gender. We began this topic with the riddle, which proved that we are all victims of certain stereotypes. The riddle proved that we would never straight away assume that an electrician or plumber was a woman, yet women do have these jobs. Then we discussed women who opt in the comedy industry and the difficulties associated for them. For example, before the audience has even heard anything, they assume the comedian is no good. This part of the course was amusing, but not as interesting as the associated characteristics, because I'd already come across this, and it was an issue where, in my opinion, was already formed. Sexism in the language. Here we examine the vocabulary within the language. We completed an exercise where each one of us had to list as many derogatory words for women and men. Unsurprisingly, we all came back with the same response, that there were more derogatory words for women than men. We also saw that most of these words were in some way connected to sex, and this got me thinking, because if this is the language of today, then what will come for the language of the future? As with all the subtopics, I enjoyed this one too. I feel this is a particularly important topic because it gets people thinking that even though we have supposedly progressed and also are supposed to be a country where equality, sexism still exists. I think in some ways it may actually earn extra respect for women because people are likely to hold some sympathy. The politeness principle. The politeness principle is a concept on how and why we are polite to one another. The first important word to understand is face. This is the speaker's sense of linguistic and social identity. We all have two of these faces. We have a positive face and a negative face. The positive face is our right to be approved and appreciated, whereas our negative face is our right not to be imposed upon. We have four ways in which we approach this face. 1. Bold on record strategy. This is where we threaten the face, we do absolutely nothing to be polite and minimize threats to the listener's face. 2. Positive politeness. We appeal to the positive face and we appreciate and accept the listener, as well as using politeness markers to ask of something to the listener. 3. Negative politeness. Here we recognize the listener's negative face and use apologies and politeness markers to say something to the listener. 4. Off-record indirect strategies. This is where we either use hints to communicate something or you rather just leave it and wait for someone else to say it. This is not a particular favorite topic of mine because I found this concept quite confusing at first and it wasn't something I found particularly exciting. Nevertheless, I do recognize myself using some of these tactics and in my case especially negative politeness. As an overall comment, I have to say this area of language has intrigued me. Things I had never even thought about now fly through my head all day. When I am listening or talking, I start to see little patterns, and my mind is always on the go now. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Please visit my blog, rate, support, and comment my YouTube account. Thank you.